jump, Master. This will be good. Gebt Vollgas! Follow me there. Don't make me drive you.
Understood. Investigating for loot over there.
I've enhanced my weapon.
There's a Bojack here. First blood. Game bloody on, fellas.
Beginning ring countdown.
Optics here. Mid-range. Shield battery. Medkit here. Ring is in close proximity. 1 more minute.
Attention. There is a new kill leader.
New kill leader. I must confess, it's what I look. Weapon will yield superior results. Ring's close. 45 seconds on the clock. Today's coming up, eh? We should probe that sector over there. Want to raise the stakes and raise the stake? My ultimate is ready. Let the experiment begin. Weapon supply bin here.
Use this nitro cage.
We find ourselves inside the next ring. How serendipitous.
Follow me there. Los geht's. Don't make me drag you.
Spotted a ring console over there.
Use this nitro cage. I have an upgrade to install. I've upgraded myself. Überraschung.
Care package being delivered.
Those care packages likely shift the delta in our favor. Adding another gas trap.
Kill leader eliminated. An upgrade has been selected.
Gracias. Yo, think I hear enemies this way. And it's not just the ringing in my ears.
Those care packages likely shift the Delta in our favor.
Warning. Ring movement in progress. Attention. Delivering care package.
They might have seen you. package there.
Round 4. Beginning ring countdown. Replicator being transferred.
A care package has touched down over there. A care package has touched down over there.
In progress.
We'll be well positioned there. Never mind.
Heavy ammo here. Looting here.
Round 5. Beginning ring countdown.
Let's go here. Do some looting here.
Enemy here. Enemy on me. Eliminate the enemy.
In progress.
Got one here.
countdown.
Spotted a subject. Hostile right here, right in front of me.
rotation. This is another one that's completely personal opinion, but I like it because it gives me the ability to see more of the map going down next Arsenal map plus.
Alright, hello everyone. A lot of you guys have been asking for a YouTube video about my settings. I'm gonna really quickly just go through all the important things, not waste any time, I'm not gonna show any gameplay or show any example. I'm just gonna run through it so you understand what I have and not to waste anyone's time. Let's go right into it right away, right? So you want to open up your NVIDIA control panel, right? Go into your manage 3D settings and you want to look for a setting called vertical sync. Vertical sync causes input delay on your roller, so you want to make sure you have this off. It's the same thing with your resolution. If your monitor resolution isn't the same as your in-game resolution, it also causes a slight input delay as well in your controller. And also coming into G-Sync, it also causes input delay if you have G-Sync compatibility. So I recommend you turn all three of those settings off, and the resolution change. Right? Coming to the game real quick. Gameplay, like I said, everything I have is meant for FPS purposes. So damage feedback is on 2D, cost that off, stacking. I play a blue reticle, so I play 255 0, right? Same thing with laser sight. Highlights are on, right? You want these on for more. It just gives you more information in general, so you know what type of health your team, the enemies are. It's pretty obvious of why you should have this on. Pretty self-explanatory. Weapon idle cycle is on off. Same thing, pretty self-explanatory. You want to be in control of your weapons. You don't want to just be randomly switching at all times. Same thing with closing death boxes, right? You don't want to be trying to go for an armor swap and then someone shoots you out of it, right? Chain healing, I have this off because I just been so used to the regular healing system in the game. I just don't really care to even try this. This part is really important. Your movement tab, you want to have always sprint on, and you want to copy how all this is set up, or besides the mantle boost, you want to copy how this is set up right here, due to the reason of whenever you are constantly putting in an input onto your stick by pushing down, you are increasing stick drift in the long run. So you are just kind of wear and tearing. This helps your controller just last longer in the long run. An input onto your stick by pushing down, you are increasing stick drift in the long run. So you are just kind of wear and tearing. This helps your controller just last longer in the long run. Yeah, have this on, have this pressed, have this off. Coming down to the jetpack, you want this to be on hold. It's easier, right? Instead of constantly pressing the button over and over, you're able to just hold it down and let go whenever you want, right? Compared to when you have to hold it and seeing how it's constantly holding and I have to repress the button and I have to repress the button. It's just not good for your roller in the long run. Less input on your sticks obviously means better for your controller health in the long run. And then coming down to Manta Boost, this is just how I have it. This is just what I like. HUDs, like I said, everything's on off. It's on like the least possible thing. As of this, I just like seeing the arsenals on the map. Performance display on. There's really nothing too special about the gameplay tab. Everything's just on view. Minimal settings. Subtitle, yeah, all that stuff. Alright, moving off. Alright, coming to the controller settings. Most important part, right? Everyone wants to do. We'll go through. I'll go through the button layout at the end. Default, tap to use and reload. You want to use it as this, by the way. So when you are on knockdowns, you are able to reload when your mag is near empty. A lot of people don't know that. If you're able to reload when you're on a knockdown, because you always have the problem of whenever you're holding in your button, you accidentally res the guy instead of reloading, so you have to shoot out your whole mag. Yeah, so you have it on this. You're able to just tap your reload button once when you're on the knockdown. This is why you're supposed to have it like this. Also going into crouch, same thing. You want to not hold because less input, faster you are, and also just the better it is on your roller overall in the long run.
You could be using the
right?
arcade
You
already.
want to be able to spam like this too. It's also just better overall. You have more control of your movement instead of just constantly going back and forth like this. You can't really like spam really hard. See how like much slower it is, how clunky it feels, right? So yeah, make sure you have this on hold. Aim button on hold, pretty self-explanatory. It's just easier. Survival slot on. Dead zone none. I don't think it really matters between default and none. I don't notice the difference, at least personally. Any pressure speed is just right one tick below the trigger dead zone. And coming to obviously the most important thing, we have the controller settings itself, right? I recently just got into 4.1 ALCs. I'm going to be playing this throughout the rest of the year because I think this is the best I've ever felt playing a sense outside of just 4.3 linear, no dead zone, right, and no pro optics. Right, so like I said, we go into pro optic settings. These are all default. This doesn't matter as much.
Ah, the upgrade. I
Linear,
must pick
none,
one.
small, off, all the all this stuff. But anyway, to the people who complain about stick drift when you have on none, right? As you can see, my roller constantly moving. This helps aim assist a lot, by the way, because since your roller is constantly moving, you are constantly being able to lock on targets a lot easier, right? So that's why I recommend you have that on, off, instead of trying to adjust for stick drift when you have it on none.
Finally, the level
Yeah,
caught
vibration
up to
off,
me.
like I said. And then obviously coming through. Apparently bleed through does exist in this game. So these are my current bleed through settings. 0, 1, 0, 400, 400, everything 0, 130 through settings, 0, 1.
I've got to pick an upgrade.
Zero, 400, 400, everything 0, 130, 130. I'm not sure how much of an effect it has. I personally haven't noticed it at all, but yeah. Here are my current ALC settings. I think it works for me. I recommend you don't go lower than 2.6 or higher than 3.2 from what I've been talking with people. 2.8 feels perfect for me. I've hit a lot of clips with it. You've seen probably some of my shorts with it last like day or two. Yeah. Yeah, like make sure this is on. Oh, by the way, obviously make sure this is on. Turn this off, right? Have 4.1. And then quickly going through my binds real quick. I play claw. So this is how I'm holding my controller
Ah, the upgrade.
all day.
I must pick one.
Right, for 8, 10, 12 hours, however long I'm playing, right? So this works for claw. I just have simple crouch on hold. I'd be pressing my key, I'd be pressing my ability like this constantly, and then just melee doesn't really matter as much, right? Obviously. Adjust this to your own liking is what's worked for me. So. And then quickly going through video settings, I have everything for FPS performances. In the description, I will put the launch commands for both EA and Steam on how to play Stretch Res with no black bars. Obviously, you can see my screen doesn't have any black bars, right? 12 hours. Yeah. But I've been 0, 400, 400, everything 0, 130, 130. I'm not sure how much of an effect it has. I personally haven't noticed it at all.
I've got to pick an upgrade.
Yeah. Here 30. I'm not sure how much of a through. Apparently bleed through does exist in this game. So these are my current bleed through settings. 0, 1, 0, 400, 400, everything 0, 130, 130. I'm not sure how much of an effect it has. I personally haven't noticed it at all. On, off. Because I think this is the best I've ever felt playing a sense outside of just 4.3 linear, no dead zone, right, and no pro optics. Right, so like I said, we go into pro optic settings. These are all default. This doesn't matter as much. Linear, none, small, off, all this stuff. By the way, to the people who complain about stick drift when you have on none,
Wach auf. You could be using the upgrade already. upgrade is waiting. I should choose. An upgrade is waiting. Pull over here. Here's an upgrade. Pick up the pace.
Right, as you can see, my roller constantly moving. This helps aim assist a lot.
I've
By
got
the way,
to pick an
since your
upgrade.
roller is constantly moving, you are constantly being able to lock on target a lot easier. Right? So that's why, you know, I recommend you have that on, off, instead of trying to adjust for stick drift when you have it on none. Yeah, vibration off. And then obviously coming through. Apparently bleed through does exist in this game. So these are my current bleed through settings. 0, 1, 0, 400, 400, everything 0, 130, 130. I'm not sure how much of an effect it has. I personally haven't noticed it at all. But yeah. Here are my current ALC settings. I think it works for me. I recommend you don't go lower than 2.6 or higher than 3.2 from what I've been talking with people. 2.8 feels perfect for me. I've hit a lot of clips with it. You've seen probably some of my shorts with it last like day or two. Yeah. Yeah, like make sure this is on. Oh, by the way, obviously make sure this is on.
You could be
Turn this
using the
off,
upgrade
right,
already.
at 4-1. And then quickly going through my binds real quick. I play Claw. So this is how I'm holding my controller all day. Right, for 8, 10, 12 hours, however long I'm playing, right? So this works for Claw. I just have simple crouch on hold. I'd be pressing my keep. I'd be pressing my ability like this constantly, and then just melee. Like, melee doesn't really matter as much, right? Obviously. Adjust this to your own liking. Is what's worked for me. So, yeah. And then quickly going through video settings, I have everything for FPS performances. In the description, I will put the launch commands for both EA and Steam on how to play stretch res with no black bars. Obviously, you can see my screen doesn't have any black bars, right? And yeah, I mean, 110 FOV. I don't have 120. I tried it, didn't like it. FOV ability scaling off or disabled. Sprint view minimal. Obviously, a lot of these settings are pretty self-explanatory. Auto, none of these really matter. And then obviously coming into the most important part, you want to disable VSync, right? Like I said earlier, VSync causes controller input delay. Enable plus boost, 0, none, right? Everything's on the lowest possibly can be outside of model detail and my texture streaming budget. I just have these on a bit higher because it does make the game look a little bit more prettier. It makes the stream a bit more enjoyable, right? I would have these probably on the lowest possible setting for just maximum FPS if I wasn't streaming, but this is just, you know, for the stream. Really nothing too special about my settings. I think this is what the average person runs in terms of pro players wise. Yeah, there's nothing really too special about it, right? You come into the audio tab. Nothing really too special about the audio tab. Just adjust it to your own liking. Speaker audio. makes the game sound better. Audio in this game is unfortunate, but sound and background, emo preview, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. It's however you want, right? And that's just a quick run through. See ya.
Have you ever wondered how pros get their aim to look so effortless? In this quick video,
And 0, 400.
Isa, wach auf. You could be using the upgrade already. Nitro gate out. A competitor, look here. Ah, the upgrade. I must pick one. An upgrade is waiting. I should choose. The upgrade. I must pick one. is waiting. I should choose.
Welcome to the Apex Fundamentals series.
Hi, friends.
This is a series where I'll break down the core concepts behind high-level Apex Legends gameplay. I've hit number 1 8 times. I've IGL'd at multiple LGS LAN events, and I'm here to show you how the game actually works. I'll go through every important mechanic and concept within the game and explain one of them at a time to help you guys win more games. In the last episode, we talked about spacing and its importance in Apex. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down aim. Aim isn't just beaming someone or having good tracking. It's made up of different skills working together. Your static aim, your reactive aim, your tracking, and your recoil control, and how fast you can switch targets. And here's the part most players never actually think about. You don't aim the same way across every single
controller in Apex Legends has a problem.
Isa, wach auf. You could be using the upgrade already.
I'm switching.
Oh my, wait! One finger aim!
Now this might sound faded, but I genuinely believe that good control.
Isa, wach auf. You could be using the upgrade already. I've got to pick an upgrade. An upgrade's waiting. I should keep. one. Put a knife gate down. Speed up.
Players do not need aim assist. Now, as wild as that statement is, I have a reason to believe this because a while back, while editing my LC video, which by the way, it's one of my best performing videos on this channel, so thank you for that. While watching it back, one thing popped up in my head. Is that me doing the tracking? Hold on. Yeah. That's me. Right? 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 I started to doubt whether that was me or the machine. While I was
Everyone seems to think a controller can instantly improve your skills.
Controller is just insane, man. Guy is just like a one-clipping motherfucking bubble fight.
Controller's aim assist is pretty much the
And
same
the
thing
upgrade.
as cheating, so
I
who
must pick
cares?
one.
But is this really true? I'm gonna test that. But first, you need to know why people think controller is actually overpowered. Bro, if you were alive in the times before the Fortnite kid era, you know games that used a controller had aim assists that only slowed down when you hovered over your opponent. It would help you make precise shots. It was the perfect balance.
As all things should be.
This made games extremely enjoyable to controller players because they could use their pre-developed baby hands to shoot with the joystick accurately. But fast forward a few years and one of the biggest games of all time was released that broke so many records. Fortnite. This set the standard for crossplay in other games, which revealed the issue of aim assist on controllers against MK players. But how does this relate to Apex? Because around this time, a thing called rotational aim assist was becoming bigger too. But what is that? It's when you're strafing and/or an enemy is strafing, then the game will correct your aim to a certain degree. Essentially, the game does a lot of the aiming for you. You just make small adjustments. And trust me, you're gonna be good. To be a bad roller player, you'd physically have to be born with the world's smoothest brain to not know how to slightly adjust your aim, or you're just fighting the aim assist. Sounds crazy, right? But some of y'all might be saying, what does he know? He's just an MK player that uses his arm. He's a hater. What you don't know is the percentage of Apex players that are controller is 65% minimum. It's gotten so bad that multiple pros have switched to controller just so they won't go broke.
I just don't see a point to stay on MK. I'm getting like more frustrated than anything playing on MK because it feels like everybody that I fight is on roller, so I'm just like at a to anybody.
This may seem like he's being dramatic, but he's not. The top Reds are all controllers. Open your eyes. Guys, clearly there's something good about this info. Now to be clear, I personally do not care about this issue because whatever I say doesn't affect what happens in it. Neither does anything anyone else says. I'm just making people understand what is really happening in their game. Even with all this information that I've given you, many people will still refuse to accept the truth. But you don't have to listen to me. Just listen to all your favorite pros.
For 1v3, I mean, what is it?
I just shot my gun. Especially on a game like Apex, I feel like the aim assist is really strong, or strong enough.
Arguably probably the best in the world if he isn't cheating, and he's just like full committed to roller. And I just wasn't sure if you'd know him or not.
That's scary. Predict in the next year we'll have like 75% rollers with 25% MK.
Okay, now let's stop complaining about everything and actually give a solution to where rollers and MKs can play together in harmony without all this. Yeah, I actually don't have a solution, but I do have a theory on why roller is so strong on Apex, and it's money. You see, there are many benefits of having this in your game. It could lead to increased player attention. I know you have that one dog friend who just randomly beams, or their game IQ isn't there, but somehow they can still kill people and hit their shots. Apex understands by giving most NPCs this power, they'll feel that they can compete and enjoy the game, which will result in increased in-game purchases. It'll also broaden the player base, making competitive way more appealing. But who gives a f about what I'm talking about? We're here for the proof to see if controller actually increases your skill. So I'll show you. Before I went into a real game, I went into the firing range to test out all the other things first. A lot of people complain because they can't do the same movement as M&K on roller, so I looked up a quick movement guide. I stayed on the 4-3 sense just so it would be realistic to how I'd play in the game, and to my surprise, it was pretty easy. In fact, if you're on PC, you can do every single movement technique as M&K And some of them you can even do even better. Let me remind you though, I've never played on controller before. I just watched a roller movement video and it was pretty easy to do from there. Next test was aim on range dummies. At first I didn't really get how to get that sweet aim people were talking about on the bots, but then I realized I was fighting the aim assist way too much. You see, aim assist has a 0 ms response time, so before I'm even physically able to react myself, the aim assist will have already adjusted. So I simply just stopped trying to aim as hard and just aim with my joystick lighter, and it was working way better. The last thing I tested before the real game was recoil control, and I was amazed at how easy it was. No, I'm just playing. That was MNK. Here's my actual roller recoil control. Okay, well, not bad for the first day. Last was my in-game play. Let me remind you guys, everything has a learning curve, so I can't be just instantly good. So you dumb motherfuckers are gonna come for my neck because I can't one clip everyone? Don't even try. I gotta put on the bot skin for this. Perfect. Is landing on us?
Today, I'm going to be showing you guys 5 of the best tips and tricks on controller. These tips are good enough to get controller players from this to this. By the way, this is an update of an older video that I just uploaded. If these tips do help you out, please be sure to like and subscribe. This first tip is a little hard to get used to, but definitely worth it in the end. Click on the button layout just under the controller tab in your settings. And we're going to be changing our attack to our bumper button instead of our trigger button. The reason we are doing this is because it allows us to shoot much faster and be more accurate with single fire weapons. It also helps with your reaction time as you can press the button down faster. You'll notice that your ability to place shots and flicks has increased. If you're one of those people who use bad even though you're on controller, then it's probably because you're on a high stance or specifically with low aim assist, and in doing so you're removing almost all of it. This is why your go-to controller settings should always be 5.3 or 5.4 linear. Myself and a lot of pros have found that it gives high aim assist and you can still turn around pretty quickly. This is better than any ALC settings because it is much less complicated, it offers ideal aim assist, and you can hit some fat beams with it. This tip is by far the hardest to get used to, but definitely the most worth it in the end. We are going to customize the button layout so that we can jump and aim and slide and aim at the same time. And you'll be able to do so without your thumb ever having to leave the joystick. The way we're going to do this is by changing our jump to our bumper button and our crouch to our right joystick. As you can see, you're capable of a lot more movement while aiming than you were before. And this is largely attributed to keeping your thumb on the joystick at all times. Once you get used to it, this tip is probably going to be the one that wins you more gunfights than anything else in this video. You can also get around this by using claw grip or using a controller with paddles. But for the sake of the longevity of your fingers or breaking the bank, it's probably best to use these binds. I'd also like to note that it makes things like super jumping and mantle jumping much easier. You're able to press your left bumper very fast without your thumb ever having to leave the joystick. If you can't seem to hit targets from very far away because of the recoil on weapons, then you definitely need to learn recoil smoothing. The way we do this is by moving our aim stick in one direction and our movement stick in the other. I learned it by able to press your left bumper very low. This tip is by far the hardest to get used to, but definitely the most worth it in the end. On the controller settings should always be 5.3 or 5.4 linear. Myself and a lot of pros have found that it gives high aim assist and you can still turn around pretty quickly. This is better than any ALC setting because it is much less complicated, it offers ideal aim assist, and you can hit some fat beams with it. This tip is by far the hardest to get used to, but definitely the most worth it in the end. We are going to customize our button layout so that we can jump and aim and slide and aim at the same time. And you'll be able to do so without your thumb ever having to leave the joystick. The way we're going to do this is by changing our jump to our left bumper button and our crouch to our right joystick. As you can see, you're capable of a lot more movement while aiming than you were before. And this is largely attributed to keeping your thumb on the joystick at all times. Once you get used to it, this tip is probably going to be the one that wins you more gunfights than anything else in this video. You can also get around this by using claw grip or using a controller with paddles. But for the sake of the longevity of your fingers or breaking the bank, it's probably best to use these binds. I'd also like to note that it makes things like super jumping and mantle jumping much easier. You're able to press your left bumper very fast without your thumb ever having to leave the joystick. If you can't seem to hit targets from very far away because of the recoil on weapons, then you definitely need to learn recoil smoothing. The way to do this is by moving our aim stick in one direction and our movement stick in the other. I learned it by practicing on these boxes and firing them. I found that it makes more zoom inside to make 2x and 3x more viable. And this is because you have to move your right stick more in order to track an outcome. As you can see, this allows you to put more shots on target without having to memorize the gun's recoil pattern. Real quick, before we get to this final tip, if you guys are into it, please be sure to like and sub. And I'd also like to say thank you guys for all the support and all the nice comments that time, and I'd also like to see what kind of tutorial or video you guys want to see next. Generally, people on controller loot very slow. That's just how it is. You don't have 15 fingers. Someone who does not play claw or use paddles will loot like this. It's very slow and can often get you killed. Now, if you learn to use claw while looting, you'll loot this fast and can get into the fight much quicker. If you want to practice this, just go into the firing range and practice moving while looting. Try to pick up weapons with a lot of attachments like the Spitfire so that way you get even more practice. If you often die while going for an armor swap because you're standing still, then you should learn to jump at just the right time before going into a box. This makes you harder to hit and you can also keep your momentum. I wouldn't recommend practicing armor swaps in the firing range because the shield is not in a great spot. It is important to know that you can also grab things while you're sprinting. This is the end of the video and I hope these tips help you out. See ya!
These are some of my best tips for playing on controller in Apex. If you implement even some of these tips into your gameplay, you're not only going to improve your aim and your movement, but your overall comfortability of playing on controller should be much better too. So let's get into it. First up, you need the right controller sensitivity. And by far, the two most popular controller sense are 4-4 Classic and 4-3 Linear with no dead zone. Now, both of these are two of the most popular controller sensitivities out there. Pros, high-level creators, they all swear by either one or the other. There's also a good amount of creators who talk about advanced root control, and while certain controller players have found these to be successful, there is way more fine-tuning involved with advanced root controls, which makes it much more difficult to find the right fit for you. It's been my experience that about 98% of the controller player base will be better off with either 4-4 Classic or 4-3 Classic if they really want to, but also 4-3 Linear, no dead zone. When it comes to 4-4 Classic, I use a small dead zone, but dead zone is really going to come down to how long you've had your controller, does it have a good amount of stick drift, and how do you like the feel of that when it comes to your aim. Smaller dead zone allows for some better aim control. No dead zone, I feel like my sticks drift all over the place. Makes it a little tough with the camera loading up in the air and not being more centered where I need it to be. Regarding some settings that I think are mandatory to change in order to find some success, put your field of view at least 100. I play on 110, which is the max. This allows for a more zoomed out perspective, allowing for better peripheral vision. This will allow for you to see better targets at range, particularly on your left or your right, but also at some distance away from you. Vibration off, this is a preference, but I don't think it's worth it in this shooter game because I find it to be way too distracting and I don't really need that type of feedback on the controller itself. Auto sprint on, this will allow for your controller, particularly its left stick, to see more longevity. If you're always clicking that thing down, it can cause a good amount of wear and tear on it. Button layout is a preference, but a very popular one, especially if you hold the controller normally and you don't play claw, is button puncher. I use that, and I don't use any paddles, which I know a lot of players do, but it's just a preference for me for how I've used controller for so many years now. If you don't use paddles, I recommend putting crouch on toggle rather than hold, but if you have paddles, putting crouch on hold can be much better. It can allow for some bunny hopping and other movement tech that incorporate the crouch. Let's shift into some movement. Now, movement is a core component of Apex, as I'm sure most of you know, and on controller, doing certain movement techniques is either not possible or extremely difficult. First one, that is the most obvious, is slide jumping. For any newer players, you want to press crouch, make sure you're moving forward, and then press jump. This will allow for you to maneuver around the map much more smoothly. It's really simple to do, and once you got that down, you want to learn about edge sliding. This is where you slide off of an edge and create more momentum forward, either towards another piece of cover, towards an enemy. It's really multifaceted, but it's important to incorporate because if you can land in a crouch and then slide off of whatever that piece of terrain is, you'll create more momentum, making yourself less predictable and could allow for some better outplay. Another popular movement tech is wall bouncing. Now, so many players know how to wall bounce these days, but they really don't incorporate it a heck of a lot in their fights. In order to wall bounce, what you want to do is go at the wall at an angle, slide, jump, look towards the wall, jump again, and look away from the wall. This takes a little bit of practice, and certain pieces of terrain or certain walls, it might think you're trying to mantle it, and if so, you're probably jumping too close to the wall or too far away from the wall. Each piece of terrain that you wall bounce off of will require some degree of geometry, I guess. I don't know. I skipped that class in high school, but you gotta get it figured out when it comes to different walls because it's not always going to be the same thing. However, the technique is. And once you learn to do this, start doing it throughout your matches. Do it all over the place, because once you do that, then your brain will start to connect doing it in a fight. And when you do it in a fight, a lot of players will be surprised, and hopefully that will help you get the first blow on them, but they don't necessarily know exactly what's happening. There's also another aspect to wall bouncing called fatigue wall bouncing. And this is where you basically wall bounce while you're standing still. You don't need to slide or jump into the wall like with a normal wall bounce. What you want to do is spam jump twice and then either move your left stick forward or backward depending on what you're trying to do with the wall bounce. Like if I want to wall bounce something and peek an enemy, then I will obviously move my left stick forward after I do the double jump. If I want to back up because I'm trying to do it in combat and I'm making myself more unpredictable, then obviously I'd press backwards. Fatigue wall bouncing is another mechanic that all controller players can implement into their gameplay, and it's a pretty broken mechanic when done correctly. A lot of enemies are not used to this, and it's not something that you'll see in most of your matches. However, if you're able to get this technique down, you will see very quickly how helpful it can be. I'm sure zip lines are on your mind since I brought up movement, and interacting on zip lines can be kind of complex, especially on controller. But a zip line super jump is very practical to learn, and it's pretty easy. What you want to do is hit interact and then spam jump twice. You must be on the ground when doing this. You cannot jump first or be mid-air and trying to do this. You will not get the super jump, but you can use this mechanic in several different areas. Obviously in the zipline buildings or in any building that has a zipline that's vertical, you can do it on horizontal ziplines like Pathfinders or map-made ziplines. You can even do it on the zip rails. And you can also fling yourself up and on top of the post that holds up the zipline or the zip rail. And once again, this will allow for some outplay on your opponents. So it's interact, jump, jump. If you use paddles, I've coached several players who have said this is really difficult with paddles, but it takes some time to get that double input on the jump. However, once you got it, same thing with the wall bounce. Start incorporating it into your gameplay. Do it whenever you can, practice it, get better at it, and then start thinking about doing it in combat. Now, moving on to some other controller tips that are necessary. Because our interact button does so many things in Apex, and for me, my interact button is X, so it'll do things like open or close a door, reload my weapon, interact with the death box, interact with certain abilities, zip lines, on and on, right? And at times, when you want to do one interaction, you might end up doing a different interaction if you're in a position where it's possible. For instance, you may want to reload on the door while it's closed and wind up opening the door. Now, there is a setting where you can change what your interact button does, like tap to use or hold to reload, and this can differentiate what your interact button does at different times. However, if you're like me and you don't like to use this setting, then really just focus on where your camera is. So with your right stick, if you're on a door and you're trying to reload, maybe just do a 180, look behind you, and you'll have the reload option as opposed to open the door option. It's the same thing with a catalyst key or a caustic trap or a Watson fence, anything that, is your own ability that you can interact with. Sometimes if you quickly hit reload, you may wind up defusing one of those abilities. Just remember, if you can look a little bit slower and be a little bit more mindful, you'll be able to do both without screwing up one another. Next is the heal wheel. Now, for me, this is up on the D-pad, and I've talked about this for years now, but the game will put you on syringes. You need to manually switch it to shields, particularly batteries if you have them. This not only will keep your brain more in line with, hey, what is my heal inventory right now? Like, do I have enough health? Do I have enough shields? But it'll also prepare you for when you take damage, you can just press up on the D-pad and heal you in the process. I approach hundreds of players who don't do this, and then they pause when they take damage, they stand still for an extra second, they start the wrong heal, they try to figure out what heal they need to be on, and all of that precious time where the opponent ends up killing them. Apex is a game of seconds. If you correctly learn to use the heal wheel and you make it muscle memory, you will be a sweat in no time, honestly. Alright, shifting a little bit into looting. Controller players have a very difficult time when it comes to looting. Why? Because they're stuck standing still. Mouse and keyboard players, they can loot and loot. This makes looting way more dynamic and actually create a ton of outplay because they are able to get quick armor swaps, they're able to quickly snatch stuff out of a death box while never being a stagnant target. And for controller, it's not even close to the same thing. But there are a few things we can do. First is jump in the death box. And what you want to do is begin the interact into the death box and then time your jump quickly after. This will allow for one singular jump as you're going into the death box. You won't be standing still, and you're able to get an armor swap very quickly if you practice this. Of course, you can grab other things, but it's going to be most helpful for those armor swapping moments. can also crouch in a death box once you've entered it, but you're not going to be able to move left or right, so it's not incredibly useful. However, at times, I guess it could be. And lastly, you are able to run and interact with the death box, but it's going to kick you out pretty quickly. I don't really use this ever because it's going to kick me out and because the timing of it is a little wonky. You need to make sure that your auto sprint is on and that you're running and you're interacting. You started the interaction right when you possibly could, and by the time you probably pass the box by a foot, you'll be in it and you'll be able to quickly grab something, but then it's going to automatically kick you out of the death box because you've ran past the imaginary zone in which you can interact with the death box. But those are the 3 ways we can move and loot, if you want to call it that. But I think the most practical one and the most efficient one is to jump into the death box. Now let's shift to some tactical tips when it comes to just aiming and fighting in general. First is strafing. Use your left stick to move left or right or both to incorporate a nice strafe into your gameplay. Apex is not a shooter where you always want to be standing still and being a static target. As I said, movement is a huge part of this game. Getting a good strafe down is really, really important. And yes, you can incorporate some crouching while you're strafing in order to make you a harder target to hit. However, strafing is not a one-size-fits-all thing, meaning a lot of our strafe should be contingent on what our opponent is doing or not doing, and also what weapons we are currently using. Certain weapons, when you aim down the sights with them, will have a much slower strafing speed than others. However, when you're not aiming down your sights, every weapon moves at the same speed when you strafe. So while hip firing, whether you have a Spitfire or a Wingman, you're moving at the same speed. That's not true when you aim down your sights. The most popular type of strafe is mirroring. It's where you move left and your opponent also moves left, or they move right and you move right. This will make tracking them very, very easy, but you must make the read on what side or direction they're moving in and be able to counter it with the same one. You can also do an opposite strafe, which I find to be very efficient. While you move left and they move right, you're kind of circling one another, and if you're up close while using an SMG, you will find a lot of success here. But what about hip firing? Well, hip firing is sort of a dying art in Apex these days. The last year they've made it certainly not as good as it used to be, and there are some weapons that they've altered when it comes to the hip fire specifically. So first, if you're within 8 meters or less, hip firing is still widely applicable. Depending on the weapon that you have though, some weapons are certainly not going to be as good as others. I will categorize all the SMGs, whether you have laser sights or not, which assist with hip firing. I will still hip fire within 8 meters or less of my opponent. When it comes to ARs, I probably have to be more like 6 meters or less, but it's going to depend on how they're moving and where my shot is beginning. The AR hipfire nerf that they made in season 15, I believe, or 16, has really messed up how efficient ARs can be up close. Burst guns, the Nemesis and the Hemlock right now are the best weapons to hipfire with in the AR class. LMGs, LMGs also have been nerfed heavily the past year and a half. You can still hipfire with them within that range as well, similar to ARs, but you got to be careful with them. And then for the shotgun class, it really is going to depend on which one you have. If I have the EVA 8, yeah, I'll hipfire that in 5 meters or less. But all of the other shotguns, I prefer to ADS, especially if I'm close. The Mastiff and the Peacekeeper both have built-in chokes, which help with the blast pattern, making the shot more of a slug, and that can just be way better for me when I'm up close to my opponent. Of course, if someone's right in my face, like 1 to 2 meters, and reacting to them while ADSing isn't going to work, I'll hipfire. But by and far, with most shotguns, I'm going to ADS. Now, a lot of players have come to learn about recoil smoothing. Plenty of you still probably won't know what this is, but it's the art of strafing while firing an automatic weapon and smoothing out the recoil. It's a built-in mechanic in Apex that has come to light over the last year. This is especially true in 50 meters or less, and for certain weapons, it can be easier to accomplish. Other weapons, not so much. When you see a player moving left or right while firing and still controlling the recoil somewhat, it may look like they have no recoil at all. This is basically what recoil smoothing looks like. And it definitely is a skill because, like I said, it works within a certain range and other guns are just not going to be as easy to do with it. But if you're able to practice this, you should become more efficient at those medium to close range encounters with automatic weapons. But this is only when you're aiming down your sights. Keep that in mind. And lastly, for all controller players in general, look for close range fights if you want to be efficient with your shots. Don't waste too much time in long range engagement. And I know I should clarify because yes, at times it will be necessary to engage at distance, especially if you have a ranged weapon. but this should not be the majority of your battles. It's not just because of aim assist. It's also because longer range engagements require much more time for the battle to finish. There's going to be way more sound of this battle going on, which allows for way more third-party opportunities, and it's often very difficult to complete the fight altogether. You could get a knock at 80 meters with a longbow, but you still have to get that finish in order to get that kill. Aim assist is strong in Apex, okay? There's no two ways around it. Use this to your advantage right now, and I know mouse and keyboard players will be mad at me for saying this, but if you want to be efficient, you got to look for close range engagements. If you enjoyed this video and you want to learn all about 2 crucial tips for every legend in Apex, I suggest you check out this video next. Thanks for watching. Peace.
I've been coaching for 6 to 7 years now, and over that time, I've coached men, women, children, adults, pros, and even noobs. But because I've spent so long focusing on coaching others, I've kind of fallen off myself. So today, I reached out not to the #1 Apex coach, because that title's already taken, but the #2 Apex coach. Today, we are getting coached by the one and only Coach Frosty, the #1 most controversial coach in the scene right now. Can Frosty help me, or is he gonna make me crash out? So then why am I taking my time? That's really the question of today's video. With all that being said, let's hop on into today's video. Hope you guys enjoy. It took a lot of me to record this one, man.
Oh, can you hear me?
Hello, hello, hello.
There we go. I'm doing great. You ready to do this?
I'm so ready to do this. Me and Chad are ecstatic for this.
See it for yourself type shit, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. So I was talking to my chat earlier. Everyone wanted me to troll you and like go undercover and stuff. I'm not gonna do that. I believe in giving everyone a fair chance. I'm just here to see what you're doing. I'm gonna let you coach me. I'm gonna let you run me through this whole thing. And if I have questions, I'll ask questions and stuff.
Ironically, what I was gonna say is the same thing. So yeah, I just want to take you through like a normal customer today. That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's just leave the drama at the door because I'm not a drama.
You misspeak a lot over on Twitter, my man.
I didn't mean to piss all those people off.
You did a really good job at that. So essentially what I remember you saying is if you don't have a degree in education, you shouldn't be a coach.
I'll admit I phrased that in the worst possible way, but I was beefing with these people who could do it. They're talking about becoming gamers into teachers. And they're like, well, I can teach it. And they were like 16 saying to go to it. I'm like, you don't understand. I'm not talking about like video. I'm talking about you got to
bro.
One
Like a rat in the trap. I apologize. That was not meant at you guys. That was meant.
All good. Yeah. All good. Gotcha.
Setup. What are you actually running today? So let's start with that. Yeah.
So I was hoping that you would just walk me through like everything. So I play mouse and keyboard 99.99% of the time.
Then I need some info about your PC.
Oh, okay.
What?
So my PC has a pretty.
Oh no,
big...
you're good.
My
I'll
PC
I'll
has
ask you here.
Okay, sure.
We're so bad at interrupting. Yeah, I was gonna ask you some info here. Just give me 1 second. What we need first is what field of view are you running?
I play 115.
Gotcha. And then what is your FPS? What are you rocking?
240.
240. And then what about your resolution?
Time to pick an
I
upgrade
play
and hone my
16 by 10,
skills.
so I play 1680 by 1050. Why do my PC specs matter?
What kind of mouse do you got?
I got a Razer Viper V3 Pro.
That's one of my favorites too. I got the Razer Basilisk.
Nice.
All right, do you use multiple stages or just one?
Stages? What do you mean stages?
Like your different DPI stages. Did you turn them off?
I play 1600 DPI.
But when you go into the Razer Synapse app, you turned all the other stages off, right?
I mean, I play on 1 DPI, but I don't change it. I'm not like in-game lifting up my mouse changing my DPI.
And then what's your in-game sensitivity?
I play 0.6.
0.6. And then what about your ADS multiplier?
I play 0.9 1x, and then each per optic goes up by 0.1.
Awesome.
He asked me all this stuff. Do you think he's gonna ask me what skates and what mouse pad I play on?
And your Windows sensitivity.
I mean, I'm sure I've changed it because I play 1600 DPI.
And make sure enhanced is that as well.
I think there's any good reason to play with that on it's on 6.
Speed.
Yeah.
Is it 6 out of 11?
It's 6 out of 20.
Okay, so you have it for you. Do you like to use your whole arm or your wrist more for your movement? movement?
I play 42 cm.
42 centimeters? Okay, so what is that, like?
42 cm is medium sense. I use my fingertips, my wrist, and my arm.
So, do you have any issues right now with your mouse sense that stands out to you?
I feel unstable sometimes. So like when I'm tracking people and I stand up in the place, sometimes my aim isn't always perfectly smooth, and I stutter a little bit.
Like the micro adjustments. Okay.
No, not micro adjustments. I don't have.
Sorry, go ahead. No stuttering there. Could you explain that stutter then? What you mean?
Yeah. So when I'm tracking someone left and right, sometimes instead of tracking perfectly smooth, I'll stutter. I'll move like that.
It's like a little bit like it's starting to lag behind, like it's not moving when you want to move it.
Yeah, like it's like my hand just stops moving smooth. It just like. Now, chat. This is a mechanical issue that I have because I tense my wrist. So we're gonna see how he changes my settings to fix something that is wrong with my arthritis. Yeah, dude, he actually might cure cancer through my screen.
Real quick, can you open up your Synapse app?
I don't have Synapse installed.
The one to edit your Viper?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead and take the time if you can to install it.
Why would I have it installed on my PC?
Real quick, so we can edit your DPI, your mouse, or do you use a different software?
I mean, I would need Razer Synapse, yeah, but I don't think I have it installed on my PC.
I was gonna say it should when you then bought the Viper. It should like make you.
Doesn't it mess up your PC performance though?
It's just another application.
Yeah, but it runs in the background, so it slows its extra background processing on your PC.
I'm not trying to min-max that. You gotta use it to edit your mouse. So if you want to uninstall, you can uninstall it afterwards.